I think people don't understand that a bomb was put in front of me and I had no idea how to disarm it. And I also felt as though there are other exterior forces at hand that were trying to have their motives play. I felt as though people were pushing my hand in cutting the wrong wire. And I think that's what happened. I think I cut the wrong wire and the bomb exploded. I'm Cindy Ngo, born and raised here in Philadelphia. And who am I? I think I'm a creative. I think I've been having issues with labels. And so when people are like an artist and an event coordinator, I just really truly believe I'm a creative. I move in different avenues and I'm constantly just connecting the dots. I love communities. I love just bringing people together, especially if I know like they can collaborate and bring something to the world. That's beautiful, so why not? We're just constantly evolving and growing. And that's how I view myself. And so I never know how to label myself as just more or less as a creative. Growing up, I always called myself a side character. I do not think I'm a main character, but I think my mom made me into a main character just because of how involved she was. She was always doing like flea markets, she was always doing events, and like she would always put me in like cultural shows and will literally put me on stage as a kid, and I'm like always in front of cameras, and I was just always just so shocked. And I feel like because of that, I'm constantly in rooms meeting people, knowing people. I just love seeing people in their element and doing what they do, and I just want that for everyone. This year has truly shown me not everyone who smiles in your face is a friend. And so because of that, I've learned like to keep my friends closer and keep my cards closer and keep that circle protected. And I've just always been inclusive, and because of that, you know, what I've called is bringing strays. I would just be like, oh, hey, like you're someone new, like let's talk and stuff like that. But it has brought sometimes damage to my friends group and to me if I didn't know who they were originally. So I think that's why I think in public spaces, I'm authentic. And because of that, I've noticed that more strays, as I call them, would come up and be like, I want to be your friend. And now I'm learning to be like, who are you? Before you could just join my friend group and join what I've created so far. And you would think having this many years on me, I would know how to navigate it. But I think what I've learned recently from my therapist of like, yeah, like I have always been welcoming because of like my childhood, and like I've never wanted to exclude anyone, but I have to learn, am I saving someone or am I truly wanting to be their friend? And I have to like tiptoe on that line of like, I can't save you, but I can offer a friendship up to a certain point. I get it, right? I know what I signed up to be, whether that is being an artist, whether that is being an event creator, dot connector. I recently am doing a podcast and I want to go do more things, right? And I really have to now be careful with my time, my energy, and my stress levels. The podcast, Vietlish, it's about me exploring more about being Vietnamese and being Asian American. And also for me, that's a driver of standing up for the biracial kids. I think we're often left in the middle. We're often left as others. And I want to have more narrative, more stories, more conversations around that. Me being an artist, I think it's me exploring my Guatemalan Latin side more, you know, having a voice to that. And then me being an event coordinator is who I am as a person, as Cindy is. Like that, it brings me so much joy and energy to like pen and pencil, start planning, start talking to people, and just bring that to life. So I think all of these things are just about who I am and constantly just reaching that goal, reaching that person, like continuously learning from that. And that's what I've learned through the podcast. Like I had like emotional moments where I was like, it brought me back to a spot when I wasn't the most secure, right? Like now, I can say I am Vietnamese and Guatemalan, right? But growing up, it was always like, so what are you? Are you more of this? Are you less of that? And it's like, why does there has to be more or less of something? Why can't there just be, I am both? And I think that's what happened growing up. I was so insecure being Asian, being Spanish or Latin, you know, like I don't know the languages and I was judged for that. I grew up in Albany. And it is very diverse. Like if you go up Fifth Street, it's like Colombian, Venezuelan bakeries and restaurants, and then you continue going down. Then it had pockets of like Cambodian and Vietnamese people, pockets of like Korean people, but then it was also like you had people from the Caribbean, like from Jamaica. And what I've learned is like a lot of older Vietnamese Americans, they don't speak about it. They're very stuck in like old Vietnam. They don't want to know about what's happening in Vietnam. They don't even want to go back. And that's my father. We just never explored it. And I just kind of accepted it because I was just like, yeah, I'm Vietnamese, whatever. Until like, again, growing up, being with other Vietnamese people and having, nieces and nephew who are now half Chinese, half Vietnamese, and we're now exploring it. We're trying to relearn traditions with my father. I always felt at home, being in Guatemala, and I was just always felt at home at Olney. Like I loved, having a mixed, diverse block. It just shows you, like, if you just start asking more, if you just ask for it, if you just are always like wondering about it, like it's there, And so now I proudly wear a Vietnamese jade bracelet and my Guatemalan earrings to show I'm both. I'm going to continue educating myself in my culture, and whether that is being Vietnamese, being Guatemalan, continue to grow to be an event coordinator and continue to bring back what I did, in the past, which is events and Eat Up the Borders. Eat Up the Borders was always about highlighting family and immigrant-owned businesses. And at first, we were doing cooking classes in people's own restaurants and businesses, just because of like, if you're opening up a restaurant, you're not gonna have the capital to do it in like places like Center City. You're gonna have it in North Philly or West Philly, right? So we wanted to have people come in the spaces to get to know the owners and know their stories. And through that, we were building connections, and then the pandemic hits, and it's a little bit over like a year after the pandemic, I was starting to do like open air events, and eventually a food truck comes and a political drama happens. There was an Israeli food truck. The Palestinian community was like, hey, that's food appropriation. I hope you understand that and know that. Again, I don't know that. I have no history of that. I have no context of that. I'm just a one-woman team out here trying to put events together. I think that's what it was, where I fucked up, was making people happy without understanding what was really going on. If I don't accept the responsibility and the harm that I did, because I'm learning more, like food is political. This passion project, everything I put into it just, failed. And I was in a really dark place. I was called names, I was, blacklisted, and like I had a fear. I was still working as an event manager at a restaurant. Articles were coming out. I felt like all eyes were on me. Like I felt like all heads turned to me, and in my head, I was having a panic attack of like, everyone knows and stuff like that. And I felt very alone for months and years. Like everyone who I partnered up with and helped with, those partnerships, they were also then getting attacked because they were partnered with Eat Up the Borders. And like some people did say like, hey, sorry, we have to distance ourselves right now. And that was understandable, but it was hard. The few sparkles of light I found in that dark tunnel I was in was people either confirming like there's no winning. You immediately, when it came to your doorstep, you lost. And then the second part was, people giving them their grievances to me and telling them like, I wish people educated you rather than just calling you names and asking you to die. This is something that like blew up to be so big for someone who knew nothing, right? And who just wanted to do something good. And I don't want it to be like a wah-wah moment, but I want people to understand that like not everyone is educated in that manner. I was very ignorant of like the whole situation, but because of that, I educated myself, and I know in that situation I learned like people wanted responses immediately. When it's like, how do you respond to something so big to that? Like you have to sit down and process it. I was getting calls to get me fired at my jobs, and I was like freelancing at the time. It was like literally my whole life blew up within seconds. And I feel as though people don't know that or understand. Like, I had so many people still today, it's like, oh, you came out all right on the other side. But I'm like, it was hard. I would be lying to say if I didn't have like moments of like believing in what those threats were telling me. It was really also hard to see something that you put so much time and energy just be gone. And it was also just hard knowing that the community that you had built just disappeared within, again, seconds. So it taught me a lot in myself to like listen to me more, listen to my decisions. If I love something, I'm not gonna let it die. I think my biggest core values are like community and collaboration, and I hold that through and through. So I think in the future for me, it's just more community events with collaborations happening. Hi, I'm Cindy Ngo, and I hope you follow my journey with me, and you can follow all my adventures that I'm doing at Cindy Knows All on Instagram. See you.